Morning friends, happy Monday. How the heck you doing? Just before we start this one, for everyone asking, and I think I've had 10 requests, there's a link in the bio to download the logo if you want to put it on a t-shirt, a mug, a tote bag. Competition, send me photos, we'll have a prize for the best use of it every single month. Get to the point, Martin. Prince William forced to issue heartfelt message after apocalyptic UK wildfires. There's 20 separate wildfires burning in Wales alone. Hundreds of firemen and volunteers are absolutely on the brink of exhaustion trying to fight these fires. And where is the Prince of Wales? The Prince of Wales is helping via social media. I literally cannot believe that he is a made-up prince of this country and cannot even be bothered to visit and do some hard graft and some labour and shine a spotlight on the predicament. Yeah, make the media aware of how bad these fires are and encourage the government to help. No, he's on holiday. Wherever there's hard work to be done, William is not there. He'd rather be at Wimbledon, dressed to the nines, visiting for an hour, buggering off and doing what he wants with the rest of his life. Absolutely awful. Even Hello Magazine are saying he's been forced to issue this statement. What a sorry excuse for a citizen of this country. Never mind what he's going to be in the future. A sorry excuse for a citizen of Wales, a country of immense beauty and brilliant people.
I personally do not care for Prince William because I think he's an entitled, spoiled brat. He has grown up with all of the privilege in the world, and we know from various sources in reporting that he has no major academic interests. He's also not interested in his religion or religion at all. He's a complete hypocrite when he uses a private jet to go to his climate change award ceremony. A ceremony at which, by the way, I never once heard the winners' names. I have no idea who any of the winners are. All I know is that he was on the red carpet with a bunch of celebrities. He claims to care about mental health and yet does not go to therapy himself when he clearly needs it, because other various sources in the media talk about how incandescent with rage he always is. He and his father do not have a good relationship, and it doesn't seem like he and his wife have a good relationship either. He also has a terrible relationship with his brother, obviously, which just leaves Camilla, and I don't think that he really likes her either. He's lazy. He works between the hours of 9 and 4 and rarely does the school pickups ever. He does like 1 or 2 events a week. And this is the future king, by the way. He always knew that he was going to be the Prince of Wales and yet never learned Welsh because, again, he has no academic interests whatsoever. The only interest that I can tell that he actually has is football. He loves to be on the football forums talking about his favorite team. And that's pretty much all that he does. And that is why.
You know, I love it when the royal family come out and say stuff like homelessness is a systemic failure, because guys, you literally are the system. Like, has it ever crossed the mind of Prince William that in a society where he is worth £1.2 billion, partly due to inheriting the Duchy of Lancaster, which is a property empire consisting of 45,550 acres of land holdings, including rural estates and farmland, urban developments, historic buildings and commercial properties across England and Wales. Meanwhile, there are 400,000 people in the UK that are homeless, that maybe, just maybe, he is part of the problem. Because yes, homelessness is a systemic failure, as William correctly identified, but it's also a political choice that is essential in a capitalist society like ours, enforced by people at the top to keep those at the bottom in place. Because people being homeless serves as a reminder to people that are barely getting by that things could always be worse and that they should stay in their place. The UK government proved during the COVID-19 pandemic that they could end homelessness if they wanted to, because they took loads of homeless people off the streets to try and mitigate the spread of COVID. It's a political choice that we have people sleeping rough on the streets. Furthermore, if Prince William is that concerned about homelessness, then why aren't the many properties that he owns being turned into accommodation to house homeless people and provide them with the support that they need? It should be a source of national shame that we have people living in these conditions whilst the royals are living a life of luxury. Now, in case it wasn't already apparent, I am a Republican in the sense that I believe we should have an elected head of state in the UK, not that women don't deserve reproductive rights, but I do think it's a good thing that the royals are getting more involved in society because it shows people how utterly useless and feckless they really are, and how if we really want change in this country, we would be better off without them.
Now, Squaddies, let's cut straight through the spin and talk about what is actually happening on the ground. Britain is facing a severe, frightening wildfire situation. Real families are watching their homes come under threat. Entire communities are living in fear, and emergency crews are putting their lives on the line in brutal, dangerous conditions. Firefighters aren't sitting comfortably in air-conditioned rooms drafting polished statements. They are out in the smoke, in the heat, and in harm's way, fighting to protect people. And then right on cue, Prince William drops a heartfelt message online, thanking emergency workers and expressing his concern. Okay, William, but where is the actual action? Posting a message requires zero sacrifice. You pick up a phone, type out a few warm words, hit send, and go right back to your day. It takes 30 seconds. Meanwhile, the people on the front lines don't have the luxury of hiding behind a screen. A firefighter can't just tweet, "Dear Flames, please stop, sending thoughts and prayers," and call it a day. They have to face the crisis directly. This is where the hypocrisy becomes impossible to ignore. For years, the public has been bombarded with headlines about how William is the face of a modern monarchy. We are constantly told he represents a new, dynamic generation of royal leadership, someone who is supposed to bring real change and do things differently. If that's the case, then show us. Prove it. When ordinary people are facing a catastrophe, real leadership isn't about looking sympathetic from a safe distance. Leadership means showing up. Nobody is suggesting William needs to put on full gear, grab a fire hose and run into a burning forest. Let's be sensible. But there is a massive difference between empty digital words and physical presence. Where are the visits to the affected communities? Where is the face-to-face appreciation for the crews on the ground? Where is the effort to stand alongside the families who have lost everything and actually listen to what they are going through? There is a vast gulf between typing out that you care and making people actually feel supported. When your neighbour's house is on fire, you don't stand safely across the street shouting, "My thoughts are with you." You step up, you grab a bucket, you offer shelter, you get involved. That isn't complex strategy, that's basic human empathy and leadership. William can send all the sleek social media statements he wants, but when an institution demands deference and continually sells someone as the future of the nation, the public has every right to expect more than a press release. Leadership in a crisis isn't something you delegate to a public relations team, and it certainly isn't something you just post online. It's something the public should be able to see.
Now, Squaddies, this is where we really have to break down the sheer hypocrisy, because I need somebody to explain the rules to me. I clearly missed the memo. Let's look at the facts and take it back to the Los Angeles wildfires in January 2025. When those devastating fires tore through communities, Harry and Meghan didn't just sit in a comfortable room posting a 30-second message online. They got up, drove out, and showed up directly at an evacuation center in Pasadena. They were on the ground meeting families whose lives had been completely upended. They were actively handing out essential supplies and working side by side with relief organizations like World Central Kitchen. They rolled up their sleeves and made their presence count. And what was the response from the usual critics and tabloid commentators? They had the nerve to label them disaster tourists. Seriously? Let's make it make sense. When Harry and Meghan physically turn up, spend their own time and use their platform to support people during a crisis, the media screams, "It's a photo op, they're doing it for publicity." But when Prince William posts a generic pre-drafted text message from miles away, suddenly it's, "What a deeply compassionate, thoughtful future king." The double standard is beyond ridiculous. It is completely absurd. And notice who was actually complaining. It wasn't the relief workers. Chef Jose Andres, a man who spends his life on the absolute front lines of global humanitarian disasters, publicly praised Harry and Meghan for stepping up and offering real support. The people actually doing the heavy lifting in the emergency zone welcomed their help with open arms. Yet somehow, armchair commentators and keyboard critics decided that Harry and Meghan were the problem for showing empathy. Imagine watching two people walk into an evacuation center, talk with families who have lost everything, help distribute hot meals, and your very first instinct is, how can I twist this into something negative? It is mind-boggling. Some of these critics could watch Harry or Meghan rescue a kitten from a burning building and still complain about the way they held the ladder. That is the level of obsession we are dealing with. Harry and Meghan didn't show up in Pasadena demanding praise or asking anyone to crown them heroes. They saw a crisis in their community, saw people in pain, and decided to help. Plain and simple. When human beings step up during a tragedy to offer tangible assistance, normal people recognize that for what it is, basic human decency. If your neighbor shows up at your door with a hot meal after your house floods, you don't demand to see their public relations strategy, you say thank you. This is why the comparison matters so much. We are constantly lectured by commentators about how royal service is all about dedication and being there for the public. Fine, let's hold everyone to that exact same standard. If showing up face to face is considered great leadership when the establishment does it, then it cannot suddenly transform into a pension seeking the second Harry and Meghan do it. And if typing out a quick statement on social media is somehow held up as the gold standard of royal duty, then don't turn around and attack Harry and Meghan for actually getting their hands dirty and making a real impact. Pick a standard and stick to it. Because Squaddies, true compassion shouldn't depend on media bias or institution-approved favourites. When people are suffering, showing up and helping should never be controversial.
Now, Squaddies, this is where we need to zoom out. Because that wildfire statement isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a much bigger pattern. The question we have to ask is simple. What exactly is Prince William actually changing? For years, the public has been fed a non-stop PR narrative about a shiny new, streamlined, modern monarchy. We're told this new generation is going to do things differently, tackle big issues, and bring real transformation. Okay, show us. Take Homewards, the high-profile initiative William launched to tackle homelessness. He steps up to microphones, delivers speeches, and calls homelessness a serious systemic issue. And that all sounds great on paper. But regular people don't live inside royal speeches. They live in the real world, where rents are skyrocketing, bills are piling up, and human beings are sleeping rough on the streets every single day. People want to know if these massive royal campaigns actually moved a needle. And what does the reporting show? Homelessness has actually increased in 4 out of the 6 target Homewards locations since the initiative was launched. Now, let's be entirely fair. William doesn't personally control national housing policy or local council budgets. Homelessness is a complex crisis. But here is the issue. If you are going to intentionally build your public profile around solving these massive social problems, and if you claim to be the leader who is going to make a difference, you cannot run away from the results. You don't get to take credit for the ambition while dodging accountability for the outcome. You cannot keep selling the public a high-budget trailer for the future while everyone is still waiting for the movie to start. Every single time the establishment wants to hype up the future of the monarchy, it's the exact same routine. Another polished speech, another glossy announcement, another carefully curated photo opportunity, and another PR statement. And ordinary people are sitting there asking, okay, but has anything actually changed on the ground? That is William's core issue. Real leadership isn't about looking deeply concerned for the camera. It's about impact. It's about whether a regular person can point to something concrete and say, that actually made my life better. This goes way beyond a single tone-deaf social media post during a national crisis. It is a massive gap between the grand promises being marketed to the public and the visible reality on the streets. If you continuously demand deference and position yourself as the modern future of an entire institution, the public is eventually going to stop judging you by your PR team's promises and start judging you by your actual results. Anyone can hand a speech to a team of advisors and post a beautifully worded message online. Delivering tangible change, that's the hard part. William can give presentations about modernizing the monarchy all day long. But Squaddies, the public deserves more than a permanent PowerPoint presentation. Show us the actual change, or stop selling the promise.
Now, Squaddies, let's bring this whole conversation back to the absolute core of the issue. What does true leadership and genuine support actually look like in a crisis? Because when those devastating fires ripped through Los Angeles, Harry and Meghan didn't just sit back in comfort, draft a hollow statement, and type out, "Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone affected." They took action. They got up, went directly into the community, and visited an evacuation center in Pasadena. They met face-to-face with families who had been forced from their homes with nothing but the clothes on their backs. They rolled up their sleeves and got to work, distributing food, handing out essential supplies, and standing side by side with relief organizations on the front lines. It wasn't complex and it wasn't a PR exercise. They simply showed up. And look at the respect and sensitivity Meghan showed during that time. She even postpones the official launch of her business venture with Love Meghan while attention and resources were needed for the wildfire relief effort. That speaks volumes about where her priorities lie. When your community is hurting, you put your personal projects on the back burner and recognize that human lives and emergency relief come first. That is the exact kind of integrity and empathy we ought to celebrate. Real leadership has nothing to do with a fancy title, a crown, or a palace. You don't need a massive entourage of advisors following you around with clipboards telling you where to stand for the perfect photo op. True leadership is seeing people in distress and asking a simple question: how can I help right now? Let's be real, Harry and Meghan easily could have stayed at home. They could have issued a quick statement through a spokesperson, posted a graphic online, and carried on with their schedules. Nobody would have questioned it. Instead, they chose to go directly to where the pain was, putting themselves in service of people who were dealing with sheer devastation. Naturally, the usual critics try to spin their compassion into something negative, but let's cut through that noise. I will always respect someone who physically steps up to help over armchair commentators who spend all day arguing about whether that help was offered the right way. When a neighbor's house is on fire, normal people don't stand on the sidewalk analyzing their motives. You grab a bucket, bring food, offer shelter, and ask what is needed. That isn't media strategy. That is basic human decency. Harry and Meghan deserve immense credit for how they handled the crisis in Los Angeles. Not because of their status, not because of their past, and not because of their names, but because when real people were facing real tragedy, they chose action over empty words. That is the standard we should be holding everyone to. Forget the titles, forget the official royal stamp, and forget the polished statements drafted by PR teams. Action is what counts. When communities are suffering, the most powerful message you can send isn't a post on social media. It's showing up in person and making a real difference. And that's all for today, Squaddies. Thank you all so much for watching. I am your host, Miles. To my returning viewers, thank you for the constant support. I appreciate every single one of you. And to all my new viewers, welcome to the family. Make sure to smash that like button, share the video, hit subscribe, and join our channel membership to support the work we do here. Catch you in the next one. God bless you and have a wonderfully blessed week ahead.